I've had some really nice comments recently with people who seem to be enjoying this series on explaining the swing model of Pete Cowen. But there does seem to be a theme, and that theme is, with all that downwards pressure, spinning the right arm down, shoulder loading, and all that good stuff, how does that possibly work with a driver? Well, in this video, we're going to have that chat. So I think where most of the confusion lies is that continuous use of the word down. You know, the model seems to be heavily built around, well, first of all, it's built around not having outside rotation. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link that down here. But a heavy part of that is getting the right arm spinning down. There's that downwards word. He talks about downwards pressure. He talks about the shoulders back down on the rib cage. Remember, his big thing is to avoid spinning at all costs. That seems to be just the big thing he's moving away from. Big motions of the body that spin and leave the club, you know, out of sync with the body. So a lot of that word down, everything seems to be down. But, you know, the driver needs to be hit in a way which is sweeping. The club needs to be, you know, the ball's over there, it's forwards in the stance, and the club needs to be sweeping with the club travelling, let's say level with the ground at contact. So most of that's done in setup. So let's just sort of get that straight. But also his swing model isn't all about downwards pressure, and certainly not with the woods. So this is how he explains it. If you take sort of snippets of his swing model and you kind of zoom in on it, then you will get this kind of small window of how he sees the swing. There's also other bits that connect to this, and one of them being that, you know, when he talks about that downwards pressure with the arm, he also talks about adding width. So it's not down and on it. The arm is wide. And he also talks about how the arm is pushing in this direction. I think that's the really key thing with the driver. And with his earlier work, I mean, this is his pyramid of learning, which I've discussed previously in the channel. This was probably mid-90s. He talks about his concept in a more broad sense, but there is always this sense of the arm moving down and then moving across. He sort of makes this motion, and there's clearly a lateral force in this direction. He talks about how the right side is pushing the left side out the way, and definitely has this kind of arcing motion to the hand path. So through the ball, it's moving this way. It's definitely not still moving down. And of course, that's the simple nature of the hand path, isn't it? If this circle represents the path of my hands, you know, they're moving around me in the backswing, and there's a downwards, well actually there's an outwards, and then there's a downwards motion, and ultimately, you know, that downwards motion turns into lateral force in that direction. They don't just keep going down, they're going to follow the hand path this way. Now, before we go on, if you're new to the channel, then please click subscribe. I mean, we do this kind of stuff all the time. We break down seemingly complex swing models into more easily digestible concepts. And also, you can come and work with me online, or I run amazing trips to Monterey Golf and Country Club in Portugal. I've just come back from there. It is in incredible condition. It is absolutely one of the best courses in the world, and I'd love to see you out there. And then it gets a little bit more complicated. So although Pete Cowen seems to have a slight disdain for the coaching of ground reaction forces in their own entity, he does really see that link between the motion of the arms and the body and how the feet are using the ground. Now, I suppose the big thing here is the release pattern. You know, he's big on pressure, on holding the right elbow and holding that right hand. Clearly, we don't want to be hitting a driver with a ton of shaft lean. So it is just assumed and inferred that through all that, as the body turns the corner and we start to stand up, the club will somewhat swing out. I don't think he's big into deceleration and acceleration in that really kind of swooshy manner, but clearly he's not encouraging people to kind of drive the right arm through and create all this shaft lean through the ball, which is what I see with a lot of high handicappers that hit it low and out to the right. And then in the recent video with Danny Maud, he starts to allude to how we get the driver launched up in the air with discussions around the distance between the hip and the shoulder, meaning that as you rotate, if that distance, sorry, let's do it with the club, if this distance between hip and shoulder stays the same, you're going to hit it fairly flat, so quite low. But if you can get the distance between the hip and lead shoulder lengthening, then you'll get the deceleration of the handle and everything kind of unloading and launching, giving us potentially more speed, but certainly more loft from the ball.
As I wind it up here and I push it back and I pull through, now my spine's in the right place to get it going
in
up
the air,
there.
yes, yes.
Or I can go wind it up and I pull and I let this left shoulder flatten a little bit, and I'm going through the ball a lot flatter and
So
drive the ball
just
a lot more.
for those watching, flattening, you're basically keeping it lower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the distance between here and here
Yeah,
is what dictates whether the body hits. So if I get the distance between here and here more consistent as I'm turning,
yeah,
there,
yeah. That's the flat fight.
that's a flatter flight. If I get it more stretched
Stretch up.
that
Yep.
gives me the deceleration, acceleration.
Yeah.
So I'm positioning my body through, and the club through my proper leg movement.
Yeah.
Whew, that seems like a lot, right? I mean, that is a lot going on, but it's not really. In essence, he's saying, you know, if you've only seen snippets of Cowen and you've picked up on one part and really focused in on that, you're going to hear a lot of that word down, but ultimately it's down and around and pushing in this direction. And as the lead side reacts and starts to push up, that is going to help that sweeping motion and get loft back on the club through impact. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video around Pete Cowen's swing model and you want to know more, then there's a whole playlist link down below where I break it down in some really kind of simple and digestible concepts. But before I see you next time, keep practicing and good luck, play well.